So there has definitely been a battle with the community of Splatoon. I mean, seriously, there's two sides to this whole situation of Splatoon 3 releasing, and the more information we get on Splatoon 3, it seems like more of these sides start to break apart and become two separate regions, where one side believes that this game is really just a 2.5 version of what we got from Splatoon 2, and one side believing that it is a completely new game in the form of Splatoon 3, and that people are crazy for thinking otherwise. And it's really been going all over Twitter. I've been seeing tons of different comments and different takes, and today I want to piece them both together and talk about exactly where I lean on this. I'm going to talk about both sides and finally where I stand, and once again, when I give my opinion, it is simply my opinion. That's all it's meant to be. If this really is something that you think is a perfectly brand new game and that you cannot wait to play it, don't let this video ruin anything for you, you know? It's the same with the other way. If you think this game is something that, doesn't deserve to be called a Splatoon 3, don't let this video ruin anything for you, because I'm taking both sides here, even though I might be leaning towards one at the end. But I'm going to talk about both sides, where you guys are coming from, and exactly what this actually means for the game. Let's first start off with Team New Game. Now, I feel like a lot of this category is basically people that play Splatoon competitively, people that play in tournaments, and people that really try to level up their rank as high as possible. They probably see this game as, just straight up a new Splatoon game, and I could see that. There's new specials, there's new types of weapons, there's even a whole brand new weapon class with the Striker Ink Bow, I think it is. I just know it's an ink bow, it's something like that. But yeah, there's a lot of new things that this game has, even new specials and subs. It's just, there's a lot of stuff jam-packed into this game. There's also some new movement options, which allow the Inkling to actually maneuver in the ink a different way and do like little juke moves and switch back and forth different lanes. So there's lots of different things for, veterans of Splatoon, because these little changes are enough to completely change the meta of the game for them. Just simply movement changes is enough to really shake up the game after having some pretty basic movement options in the past games. Now, it's kind of changing up the meta, and older players are seeing this and, considering this as a big thing for Splatoon. So I can definitely see this as a big, step up for the Splatoon franchise. People have been doing some dissecting and seeing a lot of things that are also coming to the game, such as a lot more customizable options, it looks like. It looks like the Inklings are going to be more customizable than ever, maybe even having their own, facial expressions, emotions, and even just kind of small changes that we can now add to our Inklings, like some people notice some eyebrow differences and just different aspects of your character avatar, making it the most customizable Splatoon game that we've had yet. This is something that people have really wanted, in order to create the character of their dreams, to have that perfect, character that they've been trying to create. You can really start to make that now. This is really turning into a character creator as well, and I think people are really getting excited for that. Once again, we don't know, enough about it yet, because the game's still a little far ways away, so people are really hoping that that customizable option is really a big thing, and that could mean a big difference for Splatoon. A lot of arguments from this side also are stating that just because the game looks and plays generally like a Splatoon game doesn't necessarily mean it's not, a sequel. And that doesn't mean that it's not the next version of Splatoon just because it still has the same mechanics. And like lots of people pointed out, any sequel really still has the same mechanics. Mario Galaxy 2 still has the exact same mechanics as Mario Galaxy 1. And you can think about that with most sequels, if not all sequels. Even looking at the early footage that we have of Breath of the Wild 2, it looks like Breath of the Wild 2 is going to have pretty much identical mechanics to the first game. Maybe some new weapons and some new attributes that Link can do, and some new types of, special moves that he can do, but for the most part, it's probably going to play very similar to the first game. You can tell the way Link moves, runs, jumps, and even paraglides from the air, that it's pretty much the same exact engine, and of course, it's a sequel, it's supposed to be like that. Of course, they're not going to go back and change every single movement option of the Inkling and just make them move completely different than the past games. It wouldn't even feel like a sequel. Splatoon is the type of game that's probably going to feel the same for the next 10 games because it is a third-person shooter, just like the Call of Duty franchise being that first-person shooter that repeats its pretty much same engine over and over again. The only thing that really changes with Call of Duty is really the mechanics of the game, the weapons, the stages, stuff like that is really what changes. Maybe even the game modes is what makes the Call of Duty game different than the last. So that's the same situation here, and I think it is too early for us to tell exactly what game modes we're getting, which leads me into my next discussion. Lots of fans supporting this game think it's just way too early, and I agree, we really haven't seen a lot. We've seen lots of the game modes, yes, but I still think there's lots of, core game modes, such as the multiplayer game modes that we haven't seen yet. We don't know if we're just going to have Turf War and a couple of ranked matches. There could be some other stuff that they're hiding. For all we know, there could be a giant, 5v5, 10v10 mode that they just decided to not show off yet, and it's kind of their big thing. We know Nintendo likes to hide some of their biggest news for later on in the game's life cycle. For instance, we had to wait probably until about a month or two before the game actually launches before we see the big new change of this game. I mean, take Mario Odyssey, for instance. We didn't even know the capture mechanic was a thing until a couple months before the game launched. And also, just take Kirby and the Forgotten Land, for instance. We didn't even know that Kirby had, different powered-up copy abilities, and also the fact that Kirby could do a mouthful mode ability. That was just months before the game actually launched. A month before the game actually launched. So, there's still a lot of stuff that could very easily be shown off in the next couple of months, so I think we just need to, stay calm and wait, and that is a good reason just to not be anxious about this game yet. Just relax. There's still lots to be shown off. Let me jump on over to the other side for a second. For Team Same Game. These are the people that think that this game is really just a 2.5, just an expansion of Splatoon 2. Now, most of these people are probably going to consist of casual players, and I hate to say this, but 95% of the games that are competitive to you guys, most of these games are more enjoyable for the casual audience. That even includes Smash. I love playing Smash competitively, but most of Smash's fan base is casual. It's just a thing. And I think the same thing goes for Splatoon. There is a very competitive fan base, but at the same time, it's a very casual game for many people. And for casuals, this doesn't look much different than what we've seen in the past. And I can see why they say that. Because the game does look the same. I mean, seriously, if you have somebody that's never played a Splatoon game before, but they've seen footage and you show them lots of these gameplay trailers, they'd probably say this is just Splatoon 1 or 2 for sure. I mean, literally, it looks exactly like the same thing. The hub world looks very similar, the multiplayer battles look very similar, the stages are very small and condensed like what we've seen before, and all the weapons seem to be the same without the inclusion of obviously the new ink bow. They really haven't shown more than one new weapon, and this game has been, announced 2 years ago. So I would expect them to show at least a couple more weapons. I know it's still early, but still, yeah, I get where people are coming from in that point. Something else you have to think about is Splatoon 3 is the second Splatoon game coming to the Switch, a second Splatoon game for the same console, which we haven't had yet. Obviously, the franchise is still fresh, but we haven't had anything like that. So you would expect at least something crazy to be, changed with the next Splatoon for it to be on the same console. There has to be some type of major change, because why would a casual player want to jump into Splatoon 3 when they already have Splatoon 2? Like, what's the point? There has to be a draw for casual players and something to actually bring them over to this game, because right now, I'm not really seeing all too much that really makes somebody say, man, I need to pay another $60 for Splatoon 3. Not everybody is like, us hardcore Splatoon fans that are going to buy the game no matter what. You got to also think about the casuals out there, that people that are probably not going to pick up the game because it's too much like the game that they've already owned, and, they want to save for something else coming out this year. Once again, you could argue there hasn't been a lot shown yet, but there also has been a lot shown. They showed little glimpses and, kind of scenes of the campaign story mode, and it looks like it's going to be pretty much what we have expected from the past campaigns. We've seen Salmon Run 2, which is exactly the same as Salmon Run with a couple of new features, and we've seen the multiplayer already, which seems to be the same 4v4 Turf Wars. Of course, there are going to be some other game modes, but right now, it's looking pretty much exactly the same. For competitive players, small changes like movement changes in the ink as the squid form and also new specials and subs could mean a world of difference, but for casuals, that may not mean too much. I can tell you right now that, for instance, my little brother that just recently jumped into Splatoon probably wouldn't care about these changes. He's looking for something massively different, something that actually changes what Splatoon 2 did already, and right now, there's not a lot of that. These specials look amazing, but of course, casual players are going to sit and look at this and say, man, this is something that I've already done before, and, why would I want to jump into this again? The sequel doesn't need to change up things drastically. It doesn't need to go back and reinvent what we've learned from Splatoon. It doesn't. But a sequel does need to take what we already had and expand on it. Expand on the formula, make something even bigger and better than what we did already. And that's what people are worried about, is that, they're just kind of taking the formula that we've already known and loved and just kind of slightly enhancing it, as like it's almost feeling like a free update for Splatoon 2, so I totally get where people are coming from with this. Now it's time for my final verdict. Now let me reassure you guys before I even say anything else that I am a huge Splatoon fan. Splatoon 1 on the Wii U, I played so much, I think my literal gamepad screen started to burn out because I played so many games. Seriously, I played non-stop, multiple hours a day, never ending. And then Splatoon 2 came out, and then I started to play a little less. I don't know, it felt like more of the same, and I was just kind of excited to have another Splatoon game, but then kind of got bored out of it very quickly because of how much hours I put in the first game. It was obvious why I got so tired. But then now we get the announcement of Splatoon 3, and it makes me kind of worried. I'm not gonna lie. I am kind of worried that we might get to the point where I also get burned out of this game as well, because it's just more of the same that I've been playing for so long now. And I hope that's not the case. I hope there's enough changes and enough incentive to play this game non-stop again, because I would love to jump back into my glory days of playing Splatoon over and over and over again. I really loved it so much. I became an instant Splatoon fan the second I purchased on the Wii U, and it's the same situation today. I still love this game, I love the characters, and I love everything about it, but at the same time, I am hoping that it is enough of a change, because right now, I think I slightly agree with Team Same Game. I think it is essentially another version of Splatoon 2, it feels like. The movements and the changes are great, and the new specials are a lot of fun, but they still have to show off a lot more for me to be very impressed, because right now, I'm just, you know, I feel like there's still a lot more that they need to show us, so I am going to sit patiently and wait. There's still so much time for them to show us more, especially since the game is now pushed back to September, so I'm hoping that Nintendo has some big secrets still hidden, and I still do believe that there is a big secret that they're hiding from us. But let me know in the comments down below what team you're on. What do you feel about this? And let me know exactly your opinion on the topic. Are you Team Same Game, or are you Team New Game? And let me know why in the comments down below, and maybe you guys can be featured on a future video where I talk more about your guys' opinions on this situation. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys are excited for Splatoon 3, let me know in the comments down below, and also feel free to pre-order the game with my special Best Buy link in the description down below. You can do so right now, pre-order the game, and make sure you're ready so that way you can jump into a game with your boy Nintendo Land. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you liked the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Splatoon 3 and Nintendo in general. And like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.